All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And things have gotten heated in the 2020 election. There's a controversy over Andrew Yang and his new super PAC. PAC has kind of become a dirty word on the left, especially after the controversial ruling of Citizens United, making businesses capable of free speech and money being part of that speech and so on and so forth. So many people have avowed saying no to that dirty word. It's like that exotic boyfriend that you have that you don't want to bring home to see, show your parents. But he's rich and he's fun. You know what I'm saying? So Andrew Yang has said yes to the PAC. And we're going to analyze this a little bit. Cody, tell us what's going on.
Well, the first time, to be 100% transparent here, I don't know if it was this one. We behind the scenes, we had spoken with someone who talked about starting a PAC. I'm not exactly sure if this is the end of this or not, just full disclosure. However, about a week ago on Twitter, someone tweeted or tagged me in a tweet, and they said, let me see if I can put the tweet here.
Yeah, there's been murmurs of the PAC and the PAC for a long time.
No, recently, about a week ago, what changed is flyers started going out.
Yep.
This was from, I believe, at S. Durham 28. And anyone heard of Math PAC? I live in New Hampshire and just received my very first Yang flyer advertisement from them. Anyway, you can see it right here. And it's a flyer that's pretty much it's what you'd expect from an Andrew Yang flyer. The freedom dividend gives every adult American $1,000 per month. Why Andrew's the best chance to beat Trump, yada, yada. But people are asking, what is the Math PAC? Who is this? So did a little looking into it. And honestly, some interesting stuff. So first of all, to get out of the way, I believe as of right now, like as of literally today, there will be two candidates in the race that are running for a Democratic primary that will accept the Super PAC. Jay Inslee previously he dropped out. Andrew Yang, and then Joe Biden recently actually switched. We'll talk about that in a minute. He recently went back and is now going to accept help of the Super PAC. But here's a story. I believe this was by the Huffington Post. I want to go through and highlight a couple things here. So, biggest thing I want to highlight is basically what Andrew Yang said. So when they asked Andrew Yang, he said, I know very little about the Math PAC generally. If it's the case that we have rules that we have and people want to support my message and my campaign, given the system we have right now, they're free to do so. I just hope they're aligned with my vision for the country and invest accordingly. So anyone wondering what this Math PAC is, if the campaign's aware of them, if the campaign supports it, the campaign supports the other part of this headline. One more thing I got to get to before you get in. This Math Super PAC seeks to spend more than $1 million to support Yang, I believe, in the next quarter or so. Yeah. So Andrew Yang is not going to say, Andrew Yang fighting in like uphill battle, the long shot candidates can't really afford to say, take your $1 million and shove it. Also, people are going to point out, and I'll pull it up in a second, his actual platforms. Andrew Yang, however, has stated on the record, and it's part of his website, that he is for some workaround, either what he calls democracy dollars or eventually moving to repeal Citizens United, and he's come out against super PACs in the past. Necessary evil, perhaps, to win, but that's kind of the context of what's going on right now with Andrew Yang.
Would you say that he's come out against super PAC or super PACs, or he simply said, I think democracy dollars would dilute their influence? And to me, he's had a very well-measured approach to this.
Sort of. Remember, though, his thing, I'm trying to pull it up right now. Maybe they changed it, but before, it was a little bit more, I don't want to say defeatist, but it was kind of along the lines of like, we're probably not going to repeal Citizens United. So while that would be nice, here are some other alternatives until we can. He'd be like, but here's the thing. So the first thing we want to talk about with this story, as the Huffington Post kind of paints this, is Andrew Yang a hypocrite for doing this? Here we have a quote in the Huffington Post article from the End Citizens United, a Democratic campaign finance reform group, condemned Yang for welcoming help of a super PAC. As the only candidate in the Democratic primary openly embracing the help of a single candidate super PAC, until Biden, Andrew Yang has sold out on big money and ended any pretense of running a grassroots campaign, which is kind of funny. Single-digit poll numbers and a big money super PAC bailing you out doesn't equal a winning campaign. The math doesn't add up. That is a burn. I'll give him that. It's not the sickest burn, but that is a burn.
But to me, this is all sour grapes. To me, this is absolutely sour grapes. And we talked about this in the last video, because super PACs are to Democrats as ballot harvesting is to Republicans. Okay? It's this thing that we hate in California that's illegal in 38 other states. Okay? But it was passed in AB 1921 here, and it's legal. third parties can go and can tell old ladies in retirement homes, hey, fill out your your voter form this way, and I'll go take it in for you.
And just 1 second, just don't want to make sure we get too far into this. On the record, Andrew Yang does say he wants to eliminate super PACs in vessels for corporate. He says, as president, I will eliminate super PACs.
Yes. So, for example, if I were running for governor in the state of California, the amount of corruption that Democrats have introduced into the ballot harvesting system here, and this is just it's agreed upon by many political scientists on both sides of the aisle. The California's ballot harvesting is just bad, and it creates a distrust of the system that's not good for anybody in any one of the either one of the parties. It's just like our jungle primaries here. You know, it may have been a good idea somewhere on paper, but in practice, it's just bad. Okay, and we need to get rid of it. And I would campaign on the idea that, hey, guys, when I'm governor, I will do my best to get, to pressure the state Senate and the state House to, it's not the House, it's the state assembly, to get rid of AB 1921, which is ballot harvesting. But I got to get in the governor's seat before I can do that. And until I'm governor, it's legal. It's part of the game. It's what you just have to do. And for some reason, those PACs have become a dirty word. I don't necessarily know why, because...
Well, Yang wants to eliminate them. He vows to eliminate them as president, right? So,
yeah, but none of them on the left complain about it when they get the money, and they all do. It's only this past election that somebody has... that there's been this widespread rejection on the left of them, and it's all just a PR battle. I mean, it's all just a PR front. None of them actually believe it, because now that Yang has... I guarantee you others are going to start dropping like flies and taking it, because they're like, oh, now we've got an opportunity. We're not the first.
Biden has. So
yeah, Biden has. And there's also a reason why you never see serious candidates from the Green Party, because they've always refused to take corporate money. Okay, well, you're never going to get past, you're never going to get past 0.5% doing that in the modern political arena. So if you want to change the game, you have to at least make it to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't necessarily slight Andrew Yang for accepting help from a super PAC. First off, it's out of his control. If done legally, which it never is, because there's always third-party middlemen, but if done legally, candidacies are not allowed to speak with super PACs. A political action committee is allowed to receive, a federal PAC at least, is allowed to receive unlimited funds. However, they cannot coordinate their efforts with the campaign. There's all kinds of middle ground games that they do. Like, for example, candidates, knowing that they have a PAC out there that likes them, will post the super high resolutions of all their pictures on their website so that the PACs can download them and make giant billboards for them out of them. There's always a friend of a friend of a friend who might just happen to know somebody on the in the campaign that can relay information, and so on and so forth. There's all kinds of cheating that happens. But when you get down to the brass tacks and the bare bones black and white rules of things, PACs aren't allowed to talk to campaigns. And these are legal entities that exist in the tax code. They're 527s, they're 50C4s. And I don't know. It's weird how people equate PAC money with bad money. Just like in my mind, it's weird that people equate corporate money with bad money. There's good corporations, like the guy that started Chobani, that when he finally IPO'd and made it big and made his millions, he shared 10% of the entire wealth of his IPO with each one of the employees that he'd hired in the company that had taken him from zero to hero. He spread it evenly depending upon how long they'd worked for the company. I mean, for his secretary, I think it was like $100,000 bonus she got that year, and that's a corporation. And that was a beautiful, call it Christian, call it charitable, call it generous, whatever you want to do. That was a beautiful thing that he did with his corporation. So corporations don't inherently mean bad, just like PACs don't inherently mean bad. So I don't know. I don't view it as cheating. I don't view it as a negative thing. I view it as smart, because did you play to win or not? And if you're playing to win and you're playing with the big boys now, then you need to pull out all the stops. And one of those stops is what? Receiving PAC money.
Yeah. Well, also, here's a couple other angles. There's a couple other things I want to talk about with this. Because, yeah, I mean, I agree for the most part there. Whereas if he does want to eliminate PACs, he's going to have to do it from the White House, and he might need a PAC to get there, which is ironic. But, hey, a little bit of irony isn't the end of the world when you're running for president. You know what I mean? However, a couple things I want to talk about. One, now, Joe Biden Say what you want about Joe Biden, right? He is one of the most senior political operatives running for president right now. So why did Joe Biden flip his stance on super PACs? Originally he said no, but he flipped his stance. Why did he do that, right? So it's kind of interesting going through here. He explains, so here we go. So speaking with Larry Raskey. He's a former Biden campaign worker from 2008 and 1988. But here we go. He says, we intend to fight back against the lies and distortions we're seeing now from Trump, his allies, the Russians, and the Republican Party. But here's what's interesting. He says, no other Democrat has to fight this two-front war. We know Joe Biden is the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump, and so does Donald Trump. That is why our friend Joe Biden is a target, and that is why we will have his back. This isn't speaking of why he is launching this super PAC to support Joe Biden. But you'll notice something here that Biden and his campaign has talked about many times when they're kind of referencing why they're reneging on the thing about super PACs. And what they're bringing up is the fact that we've got to have enough money to compete against Trump's message for the general and in the primary. That does cost more money, and we've got to step up, said Dick Harpootlian, a fundraiser for Biden. A super PAC would be nice. Now, what they're talking about there is something some of you guys might be aware of, and others not. And this is from the beginning of the month, October 1st. This is from Associated Press. Trump campaign RNC raised record $125 million in third quarter. And I think Joe Biden, like you're saying, he's realizing, he's sitting around, he's like, look, as a party, we can't afford to get hammered because we all said, well, it would be too ironic if I took PAC money and then got rid of PACs. So, I'm not going to do anything. And none of them
are doing it.
And the thing is, but look at the money that's coming in for the other parties. It really is a lot. But I don't know. So what do you think? And then I have one thing after this. Before we move on, last thing before we move on.
I find
what do you think about Joe Biden reneging on super PACs? And do you think it's desperation or a smart move for Biden as well? That's all I wanted to ask.
I think Joe Biden's best political senses have been railroaded by the far left that permeates now the consulting class and the chattering class. I think Joe Biden's best instincts have been taken over by people far further left than him. And they're the people that consulted with him to make an anti-Trump ad as his first ad, when just a generally moderate ad more conducive to his candidacy or more consistent with his candidacy would have been a far better choice. Right now, the left is running scared from the far left. The far left has managed to tame Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi used to drag young bucks into her office and say, no, listen here, newcomer. I've been here for 30 years and I'm going to tell you how it is. And now the squad is saying, okay, you tried that for the first year, but now we going to tell you how it is. If you don't impeach Donald Trump, or at least make it look like you're about to, then we're going to railroad you on social media. There has been this small group on the left. It's no longer the dog wagging the tail, but the tail wagging the dog over there. And so, he has no choice based upon his, at this point, weak psychology and weak approach to this campaign to do anything other than say, okay, no, I won't take super PAC money, even though in his gut he knows that is a losing decision.
Yeah, I mean, but he needs the money. I think he needs the money. I mean, he could have his principles and be out of the race in a few months. He needs the money. I mean, I don't have the graph pulled up right now, but despite fundraising decently, Joe Biden's currently operating in the red. I mean, why Biden is getting crushed on the all-important money race article from Politico. And Biden has raised $20.7 million from contributions of at least 500 to 1.5 million more. Of at least 500. 1.5 million more than his nearest competitor, despite entering the race later than all of them. However, they'll mention it later, he's currently operating in the red. He's at a deficit, which isn't good for the Joe Biden campaign. So one last thing I want to get to, though. So far we talked about Yang is accepting help with the PAC. We both agree. If you want to win, you're going to have to. So, Donald Trump and the Republicans are raising all the money in the world. Like, the Democrats, anyone running for president Democrat needs all the help they can get. The last question.
Well, and then why are they raising so much money, though? Is you have to ask yourself, why is Donald Trump, without really having to go out of his way, he's really not going out of his way, and he's raising money hand over fist.
He's the incumbent president.
Well, yes, the power of the incumbency helps. You're right. And he's also, as we've discovered in past videos, 6'2", and height helps. Okay, but besides there's all kinds of things that help.
I don't want to talk about Trump. I want to talk about something else.
No, neither do I. But I'm saying,
you sure you don't?
This far left element.
Oh my God, dude.
it has freaked out moderate and regular Republicans so much so that they're willing to donate to Trump.
Yeah, I got it.
And now not taking the money on the left, I think, is hurting the chances of these candidates who want to defeat Trump. It's like this double-edged sword. You're not only granting more advantage to your opponent, but you're also ceding potential within your own campaign. And $1 million PAC's not that large. That's basically just one millionaire who wanted to advance the cause of Andrew Yang and believed in it enough that he would get a Democratic operative to start a PAC.
And also, if he were to get that in a quarterly basis, it would be 10% of what he raised last quarter. It'd be a lot of money. But anyway, I want to get into one last thing.
Okay.
One last thing I want to get into is, who is the Math PAC? What is the Math PAC? Right? Like, what are they? What are they doing? Who are they? So, here they are, mathpac.org. Here's what they have as their mission. So, Math PAC, make sure you guys can read this. Math PAC is a super PAC dedicated to ensuring that Andrew Yang is elected the next president of the United States. We believe that his freedom dividend, a universal basic income, is exactly the kind of policy that can lift millions in the middle class, giving America's families a much-needed safety net. And you can see yada yada. It goes on. A lot of the stuff in line with what Andrew Yang talks about. But what's really important for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I wonder, like, well, who's behind it? Like, is this
Guy named something Haler, right?
That's interesting. Who is behind it, right? What?
He's a pretty well-known operative, from what I understand, in Democratic circles.
For people who are, in the Yang gang or support Yang, and they're like, what is this Math PAC thing? You can breathe easy about this. So, Will Haler, who is he? So, anyway, here's the political article, I believe it is, a Vox article. So, the group called Math PAC is being run by well-regarded Democratic operative Will Haler, and this week it began sending its first pieces of direct mail to voters, according to federal disclosures. So, again, who is this Will Haler fellow? Well, he's a guy that's got a decent little history the last few years. If we go back to, it looks like June of 2017, the DNC actually selected him to be here we go, Haler's appointment to serve as a senior advisor to the DNC comes alongside 4 other appointments. Fortunately, he was a advisor to Keith Ellison, who...
Well, Keith's problem were his own because of beating his girlfriend. It had nothing to do with his consultants.
In the fallout of the Keith, in the fallout of the Keith Ellison thing, this Will Haler became a senior advisor to the DNC. And then on top of that, not only was he that, I believe also back in 2017, I want to make sure I got the date right on this. Back in May of that same year, he was one of the finalists for the CEO position at the DNC.
Okay, well, see, all of this only makes me...
knows what he's doing, at the very least.
Yeah, all of this only makes me trust Andrew Yang's instinct and intuition and judgment, intuition and judgment even more. Because, he hired Bernie Sanders' old ad guy that did great, compelling ads. All right, just hired him. He raised a bunch of money, and then he hired good talent for producing ads. And then, obviously, with this guy's credentials... He's got clout and credibility within Democratic circles, and he's doing good job after good job after good job, which shows a track history of high performance. Like, this is the way tech entrepreneurs and businessmen actually approach things. Okay? I mean, Obama's cabinet, I think like the top 10 people only had about 14 months of like private sector experience. Amongst all of them altogether, they were all ideologues. And that's why his administration floundered economically for 8 years straight. Andrew Yang is picking the dude who succeeded here in the private sector. Then boom, picking the dude who succeeded here in the private sector. He's not picking bureaucrats and ideologues. He's picking people that can actually do something right. So I don't know. To me, yeah, I don't like the fact that super PACs have a bigger voice than the little man.
For legal reasons, Andrew Yang did not set up the super PAC. He did not choose who ran the super PAC. Yes, you're right. The super PAC was, I believe, this well individual on his own decided to form the super PAC. It had nothing to do. There's no collusion there's no illegal violations here. So all above board. All above board. As far as we know.
Hashtag that right there. Okay, so anyway, to me this just shows a willingness to engage in what is currently legal, though you may even want to change it, as long as, it's not like, something truly amoral or something, you know what I'm saying? Says that he's got a winning attitude, and I want somebody with a winning attitude. That's what I want. Because I say the same thing to my libertarian friends. Sometimes there's opportunities that come along where you really have a good chance to change a piece of legislation or to really do something good for the American people that is like really like truly like 99% libertarian. But because that 1% these guys hold out and they say no and they stand on their principle. And I'm like, well, that's great, bro. But now, you've fulfilled the old adage of letting perfection be the enemy of good. And our current political sphere, it'd be perfect. It'd be perfect if, we already had our democracy dollars. It'd be perfect if we, there was no corporate money that could dilute private money, and all of us just had that little extra left over to be civically engaged, both financially and with volunteer hours. But that's not the world we live in. In some evangelical churches, there's votership of less than 20%. It's ironic. As much as they complain about legislation, evangelical Christians have some of the lowest voting turnouts in some of these municipalities. You know what I'm saying? And there's really bad turnout amongst the poor, amongst the working class. In a perfect world, we would all be in the know and we would all show up to vote, and our ideas and ideologies would actually be so close we could barely tell the difference between Democrats and Republicans. But we don't live in that perfect world. There aren't democracy dollars floating around. Super PACs exist and are a thing. So in this imperfect world that we live in, okay, not this fantasy world that's floating around in our mind as we think, wouldn't it be nice? Okay, in this world we live in, if you want to win, if you want to improve society, you need to win elected office. And then once you get there, you can turn around and say, okay, cool. Part of these things that we engaged in along the way really were not as fair, and I want to change that. That's good leadership. Understanding the playing field so you can get to where you want to get without selling out once you get there. That's really the ultimate test of these guys.
$1 million, man. Like, $1 million. What was he gonna say? No, thanks. Go kick rocks. It's $1 million. Dude.
You remind me of a shirt that I saw at Hurricane Harbor. I was taking my kids to the water park, and this guy was wearing a tank top that said, "I'm not GAY, but hey, $20 is $20." I audibly laughed out loud when I saw that thing walking by. So
on that note, I believe we have finished talking about super PACs.
Yeah, so we've finished talking about super PACs.
Again, so just last little final recap. Andrew Yang was now one of 2 Democrats running for president who are accepting the help of a super PAC. Joe Biden recently switched in the last, 9 hours or so. Andrew Yang, about a week ago, officially started receiving his support. He had already said it's okay, but about a week ago, flyers started going out. If you live in New Hampshire, you might have seen a flyer that looks like...
Well, it's not even like you can say, I'm receiving their support, because he's not getting anything transactional from them.
No, I mean, like, they started sending out flyers on his behalf.
Yeah, I was about going to say, he basically said, I'm okay with this.
But yeah, exactly. But again, I think, honestly, my takeaway, everything's coming up Yang. We've been saying, how's he going to get in with the DNC? How's he going to get the stuff? Well, now he's got a super PAC with a former senior advisor and runner-up for the CEO position of the DNC, someone who's in the know. He's got the ad team, the ad firm that worked with Bernie Sanders in 2016 that almost won another uphill, upset of the century kind of election. I think he's starting to get the stuff he needs to win an election now. He's starting to actually turn into that more legitimate political cachet stuff he needs.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm working with a legit ad firm for my message. I've got, I got a super PAC led by a guy who, he's not the greatest person. But I mean, like, a legitimate person working in D.C. It's not some volunteer who's like, I've never been involved in politics before. So he's got some more people behind him that are starting to get some legitimacy to the campaign. And like I said, all this news to me says everything's coming up Yang, and it's good news for Yang is what I believe.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know what you guys think. We know PACs are a very controversial and very heated subject. We'd love to know what you guys think and what your opinions are. If you want to make sure, if you want to support the channel, make sure that you check out the PayPal link in the description below. Also, you can get a hat at problemsolverpolitics.com. We're going to be streaming live in just a little bit. We do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so make sure you check us out on the stream on Twitch. And if you haven't had a chance yet, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you guys in the next video.